I know there's some of you sitting there wondering, why is this girl drinking Savannah in a wine glass? And you know, after the week we've had speaking about colonialization and everything, I've decided, well, I've not decided, it's a fact. Etiquette is a colonial myth. Colonialists use etiquette to limit or to gouge our blackness or our humanity. And I know you didn't click into this video to speak about that, but think of it this way. When you don't use forks and spoons and whatever to eat, your cuisine or your way of eating is seen as low, like you're not sophisticated or have no class. But for most people that look like me, we eat with our hands. Asians eat with their hands, some use chopsticks, and most of Africa uses their hands. So of course you're gonna catch me using fork and knife at some point, but this is my attempt at fighting the structure that continues to colonize me and my people. I'm fighting the good fight. Tell my people I love them and they must continue the fight. I'm back with another video, and I'm gonna be sort of explaining why I've not been on YouTube and why. It's basically just explaining my state of mind pertaining to YouTube and like most things. So yeah, so thank you for watching. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I hope you like this video and you subscribe. Cheers. If you don't know what burnout essentially just means the feeling of being so overwhelmed and so swamped in everything that's happening with life that you are uninspired and not motivated to do anything. It's basically just being so exhausted and so demotivated that you can't even show up for the things that you enjoy or want to do. And I've been watching a lot of videos on burnout because I've been feeling very tired for a long time. But when I began watching videos, I noticed that most of the YouTubers that were speaking on burnout, were big YouTubers, you know, people with 15, 17, 10, 3 million subscribers who have endless brand deals and just so many good things that are seemingly happening for them, right? And I can admit that for a while, I used to look at burnout as something that happened to people that have worked hard and have done the most, you know, like you've been just grinding non-stop, waking up at 5 a.m. doing all of these things, and then you cannot do it anymore. And you know, I looked at it as applying too much pressure that your body is forcing you to rest. That's how I looked at it. But with my experience, I feel like at some point I did not feel like I deserved to feel like I'm burnt out, because I feel like I was not doing enough. For an example, I had just started my YouTube channel, and I'd posted I think 6 videos, and I was just already so tired of it. I was like, I have to film every week, I have to edit, and by the way, I'm still learning how to edit, so that was a lot of pressure on my side. I have to edit, I have to film, I have to, you know, I started wondering why I was even doing it. And then I broke my recording equipment, and then I just didn't buy it. You know, it became that thing that I thought would only last for a few weeks, and then it became months and then months and then months and then months and then now I'm here making this video justifying why I did not film for 7 months. That's how I viewed burnout, that people would work so hard that they eventually just cannot give anymore and would be burnt out. But I honestly don't feel like I've worked that hard to be feeling so demotivated and tired. But I am. The honest truth is that I was tired, I'm still tired, and I found myself not even enjoying things that I liked to do. But after taking a break from everything and just listening to my mind and my body, because I felt like I was just moving too fast, but I was not heading anywhere. And then after I took a break and just reflected on my life, I noticed that I was burnt out for doing too many things that did not amount to anything. And which is a difficult thing to grasp with, because you're busy, right? And you are all over the place, and you can feel yourself apply effort, but it's not the effort that you should be applying. You do things well, some of them become successful, but because it's not things that you're passionate in, or things that would eventually result in a certain outcome for you that you'd consider a success or whatever, you eventually just get so tired and so drained at doing so much for nothing. Basically just doing so much. So how do you notice when you're burnt out? Of course, every individual is different. For me, I know that I'm burnt out when I'm really demotivated and I'm feeling lonely, because I'm a very social person and I have many wonderful and beautiful friends. But when I start feeling lonely and I start writing too much. So if you don't know, I write. I'm a freelance writer. I write speeches, I write essays, all of those things for people and for myself and for whoever wants to read, really. But there's a limit, obviously there's no writing limit, but for me, I know that if I'm writing something too much, I don't know how to explain it, but I know my limits. I know that per day I could write this, and there's sometimes I would write and I'd feel like, okay, that was a good writing day, and then sometimes I would not write and I feel like, oh, we wasted that day. And there's days where I'd write and my thumb would hurt, and my wrist would hurt, and I'd be like, ma'am, why are we writing so much? That's when I know that I'm burnt out. And when I write, right, when I'm in that state, I write well, and it's beautiful work. I really write my best things when I'm really avoiding dealing with my issues. But that's not how life should be, right? You shouldn't have to escape from your problems through the things that you're good at or things that you enjoy, because things that you enjoy now become these things that consume you out of reality. So when we write a lot, we take a step back, just call myself to order and just reflect on the decisions that I'm taking and just understand why I'm writing so much. So you should also probably reflect if you're feeling burnt out or you believe you could be burnt out. If you're feeling lonely or demotivated, I think those are some of the common feelings. If you're feeling out of touch and you no longer enjoy the things that you used to enjoy, because when I write too much, I no longer enjoy writing. I feel like now it's a chore and I have to do it, because if I don't do it, then I'm going to think about what I'm going through, so I feel like my lips are dry. You should probably make those reflections. Thank you. This is the best lip therapy, lip moisturizing, whatever in the market. This is not a paid promotion, and if you go buy it, let me know so that I can make Vaseline pay me. But one of the things that work for me when I'm burnt out is just taking a step back. If I'm doing too much of something, I know I should probably just step back a bit and just reflect on what I'm trying to avoid in my life. And I try to go back to things that I really enjoy. About 3 years ago, I started getting into yoga, and I don't think I have a good relationship with yoga. In fact, I don't think I know enough about yoga. I even saw someone, in fact, let's not even get into that, but I should probably read more on yoga, because someone had made a video, was it a video or post, complaining about how Westerners are using yoga as this aesthetic thingy that you do to look good and to look pretty, when it's like a spiritual practice thingy. I don't know what's going on about that, but I should probably read up on that since I have an interest in yoga. Anyway, I've taken an interest in yoga, and there was a time where I would do those 30-day yoga challenges. Those were the happiest days of my life. But it also made me realize that yoga is harder than I expected. It was more difficult, and this is not the first time I find out something is harder than I expected. I remember trying tennis, and I was no Serena Williams. I know the skin tone is saying Serena Williams, but when I got into that thingy, it was horrible, and I vowed to never go back. So, but with yoga, it's something that I enjoyed. I watch yoga with Adrian here on YouTube. She's so brilliant and so sweet, and she speaks so kindly, and even the way that she talks about yoga and talks about your body and talks about everything just makes you feel like, okay, I can eventually get it. So yeah, I do yoga, I meditate. I try not to meditate every day because I can't focus. I cannot do it, and I know it takes practice, but I tend to use it more as a relief for when I'm feeling overwhelmed. And I know there's people that meditate every day, but I don't think I've gotten there yet, and I don't want to push myself into things that I don't. Yeah, let's just say that it works when I'm feeling really, really, really stressed. Something else that I do when I'm feeling very down is that I read. I usually spend most of my time writing, so it feels really good when I eventually just get to my stack of books that I've been just holding off and everything. And I've always enjoyed reading. I started reading from a young age, and when adolescence took over, I just stopped reading. At least the books. I would read newspapers, because why was I 16 and reading newspapers? But I was, and I would buy newspapers after school, and I just stopped reading books. And then towards matric, and yeah, after that I went back into books, and then now I'm buying so many books. And you know, there's a quote that I read, that the mistake or the myth, is it the mistake or the myth, that the false sense, we get this false sense of time when we buy books. We think that when we buy books, we also buy the time to read them. And I think that is so true, because I have so many books that I was convinced, until now, I was convinced I do not have time for. But now I know that I have time, and I have been able to read this lovely stack of books in the last 2 months. Imagine this. I've always had some of these books. Only one of these books is from this year. I've always had the stack, but I've never read it until I had to just reflect on why I was doing too much for things that really did not fit into me. Now we're here and we're binge reading. Is that even a thing? Yeah, I'm binge reading, and it's not a cry for help. I'm actually loving. So I'm going to recommend some of my favorite books, which is funny because every book that I've read this year has been so good. It's almost like my life is mocking me for putting the books off. It's like, you've been passing me by your counter, ma'am. I'm so good. Yeah, so I'm gonna, in no particular order, I'm going to give you the names of the books that I've been reading, that I've been enjoying. And yeah, the first one is Half of a Yellow Sun by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. It's basically set in 1960 Nigeria during the Biafran War, and I personally love Chimamanda. I've been a fan of her for the longest time. If you don't know who Chimamanda is, you should probably check Purple Hibiscus. And what else? We Should All Be Feminists, as well as The Thing Around Your Neck. She has also written numerous short stories. I would probably link them below if I can remember them. And for the New York Times and The Guardian and whatever. She's brilliant. I think she's one of the most prolific writers to come out of Nigeria, and by extension Africa as well. So you should probably check her out. I love her books. I love the way that she uses words. She's just really brilliant. I'm obsessed. I'm not angry. I'm just really excited. And then we have A Coat of Many Colors by Fred Khumalo. Look at this cover. Can you see how lovely this book is? I have to admit though, it was so expensive. I was so disappointed at the size. I read it in one sitting, but it's a beautiful book, and I feel like I'm gonna say I'm a fan of every one of these writers, but I really am a fan of Fred Khumalo, and he's actually one of the few. I didn't bring a book by Mohale Mashiro called Intruders. It is a beautiful book, one of the most beautiful books that I've read that have come out of South Africa, and that is not an exaggeration. I really think that she did such good work with it. I've never seen black writers write fantasy in the way that Mohale Mashiro has written about fantasy. You know, she wrote about superheroes and mythical creatures and made stories that I've grown up knowing, just so exciting and alive, and just in a Marvel way. Yeah, so if you have time, I don't have the book with me, please check out Mohale Mashiro, Intruders. She's She's brilliant. I love it. I love it. The sun is setting. This is First Women. It's the first book I read this year. I think I read it around March. It's thick and beautiful. It's about a girl named Kirabo who is looking for her mother. Basically, she is entering her teenage years. She's actually like 13, 14, and is starting to feel the burden of being a daughter without a mother, and which is also such a funny setting because she is loved so much by her grandparents, and she has these people around her that are just doting on her. But I think it just speaks to the reality that nothing can ever just distract you or make you forget of a mother's love or your yearn for maternity, and to be parented through a direct motherly bond. And that's what the book is about. It's about Girabo. She's trying to find her mother, and everyone around her doesn't understand why she's trying to find her mother, because we love you, we are your mother. So I identified with this book a lot. I love it. These are my 2 favorite books I've read this year. I am going to read these books for the rest of my life, because why are they so brilliant? The Shadow King, The God of Small Things. I have never, when I read The God of Small Things, I was just marveling at how anyone could be so talented, how characters could come so alive. It felt like I was in India. I could not believe it was just brilliant. It portrays the story of 2 twins who have just grown apart. It's a boy and a girl. The girl eventually moved away. The boy was pulled away. It's just a story about loss and about love, about the laws of love, about who deserves to be loved and how they deserve to be loved, and how sometimes loving people that you should not be loving results in loss, and that loss is often more permanent, such as in the way of death. It was so heartbreaking, especially because the people who were failed in this book were the people that deserved love the most, and when they tried to work toward it, they just lost everything. It's like you're chasing something that you deserve and you should be getting, and when you finally grasp it, you lose everything else that you'd been having, which was not much to begin with. It's a wonderful book. I'm going to read it for the rest of my life. You're not going to stop me. I recommend this book endlessly. Mwah, a masterpiece. Last book I'd like to recommend, which is such a beautiful book, is The Shadow King by Maza. It is a beautiful, beautiful book set in the 1930s in Ethiopia. It speaks of the Italians' invasion of Ethiopia and their attempt at colonizing Ethiopia. It is so heavy. It is heavy, but in a very beautiful way. It's probably going to break you, but in a way that also just mends your heart back together as well. Wow, that just sounded... Did I just sound like such a writer? Anyway, it is beautiful. It is set around a girl named Hirut who is recently orphaned. Her parents, she lost both of her parents at the same time, and then she went to work as a maid for a soldier of the emperor. And from there on, she continued to be a soldier herself, her including other women. And I think the way that it speaks of women and their contribution to war and to just the general building of a country. Wow, it's so dark. It makes you wonder what happens when women are totally erased from discussions about war and about democracy. The Shadow King is an amazing book, and I enjoyed how the women in the book were just so present in the war and were very vocal about their stance and were defending Ethiopia, and the way that she describes the landscape and describes how the people feel about their country. It's a very passionate book. I wonder if she's from Ethiopia. I should check that. But it was so passionate that I could feel how the writer herself, how much she loved Ethiopia. And it made me want to visit Ethiopia, and it made me feel very sympathetic to my fellow African brothers and sisters, and to just our general experience as Black people at the hands of colonialists. And it's a wonderful book, and it's also just one of those books that I hope to pass on to my children, because it's really it's beautiful. I don't even know if you can still see me, but The sun is setting and I have just come out of a meeting. I'm so exhausted. This filming took longer than I expected, but thank you for watching. I hope these tips work and I hope you read these books. I think they're beautiful books and they have helped me, you know. I think they were a good form of escapism, and beyond that I was just so impressed to finally realize that I'd been sleeping on them. So if you have time, please check them out. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can like it as well if you enjoyed this video. If you have any tips about how you also deal with burnout and all of that, please comment down below. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.